who lived there were Asians, and it was the systems were okay. The houses were one. They could be a house with no floors. There were no gorofas, but they could. There were houses which were built which could have rooms here, there, but in the whole compound. But there were no high-rise houses. But the people were under it. The place was clean. There were even trees, but nothing. These days things have changed a lot.
The change she is talking about is visible all around Isili. These warning signs of plots not for sale, a stark reminder of the change in times and the ever-present threat of losing one's land. Developers are hungry for property, and the not-so-straight ones use all means, whether legal or illegal, to acquire the same. Today, Wanja is taking us to her own property, currently managed by her son through his company, Coldstone Investments Limited.
Niko na property Pangani Muratina Road. Ile tulinunua na bwana yangu 1988. Na wakati huo ilikuwa nyumba ina ngorofa, which had about 8 houses, and there were tenants living there. We lived there for a short time, but then moved on and rented the house. And then the house was okay, and there were tenants, and they were paying. There were some of them were Asians and Somalis. And in 1907, my husband passed away. Before he passed away, we had considered developing rental houses, and we had taken all the rights from the city council, the NEMA, and everything. But after he passed on, my son, Daniel Waihenya Deuri, took over this, and we worked with him core to core. He even left his work. And we finished the house about, we took like 2-4 years. We took a loan from to build the house. A block of houses which has 5 floors with all regular and lawful plans from the city council and everywhere else.
Today, they feel that the property is targeted by a wealthy developer who recently acquired a neighboring plot and who is seemingly untouchable. Events of the past 1 year indeed cement their belief that Khalij Towers Limited's end game is to have them out, selling their property not only unwillingly, but at a price below its value.
We've suffered a lot of turnover because of the nuisance from runaway construction debris and dust and noise due to the non-adherence of the required site safety protocols and building code by the neighbor.
Can you quantify the losses you've made in terms of how many units were occupied, how many right now?
We currently have 6 units unoccupied, and in terms of loss in revenue is about 200,000 a month. 200,000 shillings a month, because at average of about 35,000 per unit, proceeds of which we used to pay the mortgage that is still outstanding, it is quite substantial hit to our bottom line. Yeah.
So where is the damage?
The damage is in our backyard that has been claimed to be a public. See where we live? Yes, we can actually walk and go and see. Yeah. So this is our backyard. And as you can see, we have observed the requisite building code statute that requires us to recess from our boundary at least 2.4 meters. We have actually left 3 meters from the boundary.
This is actually 3 meters?
This is actually 3 meters if you measure that we've left, and have housed all our infrastructure within our backyard. The land survey people have even come and marked. As you can see, the two markings, there's a red and a green
yes,
marking.
I can see a red marking
that shows the extent and the extent of the boundary of the
so
property.
Who marked this? Who put this mark?
This was done by a surveyor from Ministry of Lands, and also the green one was done by their own surveyor initially when we were trying to sort out the dispute amicably. Yeah.
So,
as we were recording Waihenya's complaints against the excesses of his moneyed neighbor, the extent of the intimidation was evident. We were being closely watched and our activities monitored. Through this close-circuit surveillance camera facing into Waihenya's private property.
On or about January, February 2022, the plot, neighboring plot LR 36-7234 was acquired by some new investor in the area. As they were carrying out their excavations, they demolished our boundary wall, and being a good neighbor, we tried to go and meet them and sort out the issue amicably. We sat and met, and they really apologized initially, saying we had done this by mistake, and once we get to second floor, we are going to reinstate your wall to the original condition. We come with the clean hearts and are going to abide.
So, before you continue, what you're saying is that where this wall is,
yes,
what's your wall?
We had a wall traversing this whole section across to the end and then closing our backyard.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that promise for correction of the quote-unquote wrongful demolition of the wall once the constructors of Khalid Towers reached the second floor.
When it got to that stage, we approached them to make good what their initial arrangement, gentleman's agreement was. To our surprise, the gentleman said there was no such agreement, and actually we had built on land that was not our own and had encroached on a public way-leave. And we were quite shocked, having been here from 2007, having approved drawings and having followed all requisite building processes, were quite shocked.
This point of departure, opening the floodgates of harassment on Wanja and Waihenya by Khalid Towers. With construction ongoing, construction site debris fell onto their space, rendering their backyard completely useless, in effect devaluing their property. This recording shows the previous state of the well-maintained backyard, complete with a perimeter wall before the construction at the neighbors began. It even hosted the apartment's hanging lines where tenants accessed freely. This is the current state of that space. Debris has been falling off from the building under construction, and one can only imagine the damage that some of the fallen objects could cause if they landed on a human being. The hanging lines can no longer be used, and the windows are damaged. Tenants have started moving out of these rented spaces, dealing losses to the owners. The roofs are the worst hit, literally, as seen in these recordings captured over time. As a result, some of the apartments on the top floor leak when it rains, compounding an already dire situation of a reduced tenancy.
Recording this side.
Today, what was initially approved for construction only up to the 14th floor, and a building whose construction approval number CPF-AW765 is reported to have been later cancelled by the county government of Nairobi, is the poster tower of impunity, actively being constructed at its 20th floor.
It is now over 6 months since the Nairobi County government stopped this particular construction. In fact, the stoppage happened on the 30th of November 2023. But today, in May 2024, construction is still ongoing. Actually, you can still see some debris on my jacket, meaning that as we are doing this, construction is ongoing.
This letter, dated the 14th of March 2024, from Nairobi County's Acting County Secretary Patrick Analo to Coldstone Investment Limited, confirming the cancellation of the approvals. The letter reads in part, and I quote, "This is to confirm that we advertently issued construction permit through reference number CPF-AW765 and BPM-002413-N on the plot in question. However, upon further scrutiny of the applications, we have discovered that there was misrepresentation of facts on the architectural drawings layout by the architect. The drawings show that there is an existing 3-meter wayleave between plot 36/7/234 and 36/7/235, whose space could have been utilized for ventilation and lighting purposes on the openings, but in actual fact, there is no such wayleave. What exists is a sewer line easement. Hence, the violation of building code for the lack of provision of 2.4 meter and 6 meter clear distances or setback for bedroom and lounge windows respectively from the neighboring plot, hence the resultant of the wrong information. In this regard, the approved architectural drawings was revoked in our urban technical meeting held on the 30th of November 2023, and the architect/developer has been advised to stop further works on site and submit revised drawings for review." This letter was assigned by Acting County Secretary Patrick Analo.
Our neighbor's building has been built beacon to beacon. His balconies and sitting rooms are not recessed at least 6 meters from our boundary as required by the building code. He has not also left enough space to accommodate his own sewerage infrastructure in his property. What they're now seeking to do is actually establish a sewerage connection chamber in our backyard. And
how is that, a sewerage connection chamber in your property?
In our property, which is quite ridiculous, because ideally, by prudent solid waste management, and the building code requires that everyone or any developer house their sewerage infrastructure within their property to ensure that in case there is a blockage, the first point of warning is usually from that collection chamber to show that there's a problem in the main line, and for you to call Nairobi Water or any requisite and blocking authority so they can address the issue. But now, if that happens, the infrastructure here is very old. It was, I think, installed in the 1980s. This building has built, again as a building code, is 20 floors. The volume alone from this, if allowed to come into our backyard, will overflow and backflow in case there is a blockage and make this place a health hazard and not able to have any human habitation.
So here, make us understand for the viewers at home. So where we are standing, according to records, according to survey reports, is your property.
This is our backyard, bona fide, as per title deed and acreage.
Is this sewer line or sewage collection point yours? Does it belong to you?
No, this is one that was done. This was not here before. This was done under instruction by the neighbor, and this is meant now to be their direct sewer connection.
It is important to note that this position by Waihenya is, however, being denied by the Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company. The water service provider maintains that a sewer line that cuts across properties in the area runs under the property and has been in existence since the 80s, and that everyone has a right to its use. They also say that contrary to claims by Waihenya that this manhole was done by Khalij and its agents, the manhole is the property of Nairobi Water and has also been in existence, only that its size is changed to handle the capacity coming from the new buildings. But the water company says that Khalij Towers was wrong in making its piped connections to the sewer line on surface. This on-surface pipe connection itself being a catalyst to the conflict between these neighbors. Around May 2023, when agents of Khalij Towers made this on-surface connection to the collection chambers, the latter's workers that included caretaker, Mr. Ambrose Chege Wandeto, and his security guard, one Daniel Oleloitu, dismantled the pipes, citing an illegality, since according to them, this was their boss's property and Khalij Towers was encroaching. The two were arrested 2 days later, on the 25th of May, by officers from the Isili North Police Station. Today, they are facing charges of malicious damage to property, contrary to Section 339(1) of the Penal Code, and are out on bond. But as if that is not enough, complaints by the aggrieved parties to authorities mandated to protect him are seemingly cleverly ignored, while those that are replied to are wantonly disregarded by the owners of Khalij Towers. For instance, there have been complaints lodged at the Isili North Police Station. Specific complaints to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and subsequent follow-up letters, where none other than the DCI boss, Mohammed Amin, received 3 letters in a period of 1 year, but none has been responded to. Also, there have been complaints to the National Construction Authority, the National Environment Management Authority, the Nairobi City County Government, and the Governor himself, Johnson Sakaja. Waihenya has also previously written to the Managing Director of the Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company, who in response advised him to allow Khalij Towers to put up the sewerage channel where he had, since there is an existing sewer line for more than 40 years, hence away leaves. Perhaps to show the state of confusion between government officers, this position by the Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company MD contrasts with that of other government agencies with similar competence, which own up that there has never been a way-leave and that, in fact, this space is private property. The government officers that have taken that position include the Ministry of Lands through this letter and the independent survey reports which NTV is in possession of. It is such confusion between government agencies that is believed to have led to this incident. When more than a dozen of unknown persons in face masks, yet accompanied by uniformed county enforcement officers in official county government vehicles, descended on Waihenya's property, bringing down perimeter walls over claims of encroachment into a public way-leave.
Lazima tuambiwe hiki kinaenda hivi, hii inaenda hivi. Sasa akipeleka moja kwa moja
kitu yote iko hapa, si tunaweza repossess kwa sababu mmetengeneza kwa nini?
Hamwezi, ni vitu yetu. Hii sio yenu.
Kwa nini yetu? Ngoja tu. Ngoja tu. Mimi nasema ngoja tu kwa sababu
there was no court order provided, and as if to prove that this was a vendetta, only Waihenya's perimeter walls were demolished, while his other neighbors, who have constructed their walls in a style and manner similar to his, were left with their walls still standing. Yet beyond the row between Khalij Towers and Coldstone Limited and other incidents that cast a spotlight on the building and whether or not indeed its developers followed the laid down procedures in constructing the building or even in securing the site, we warn you though that the images we are about to show you are graphic and may be disturbing to some. On the 8th of February this year, 2024, this lady, Arfon Yasin Dirie, now deceased, was walking with her daughter along the streets when suddenly a building block fell off a construction site, hitting and injuring her together with her daughter. A police OB report at the Isili North Police Station reads in part that at around 11:30 hours, officers on patrol within Kirongothi Street were alerted by members of the public that there was a dead body lying on the ground along Kirongothi Street. Upon rushing to the scene, they found that the same had been taken to Hamlin Hospital within Isili. It was established that one Arfon Yasin Dirie, now deceased, was walking together with her daughter, aged 9 years, along Kirongothi Street when a stone block fell from the top Khalij Towers, a house under construction, and hit her on the head, thereby crushing her head. They were rushed to Hamlin Hospital by Good Samaritans, where she was pronounced dead on arrival, and her daughter sustained injuries on her right leg, ankle, and was admitted at the same facility, looking shocked but stable. Pressed to respond on record to the issues raised, that included giving a statement on the construction and alleged failure to follow laid down procedures and failure to protect the site that led to the death of one woman, Khalij Towers, through lawyer Swale Kanyeki of Swale, Mwangi and Company Advocates, instead sent a demand to NTV not to air this piece. They said, and I quote, "Take notice, therefore, to stop the threat of airing the report and forthwith desist from the actual airing of the report over the weekend or any other time." End of quote. Ibrahim Karanja, NTV.
All right, and away from that report by Ibrahim Karanja, we would like to inform you that we will not be able to continue with our interview with the Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga due to connection challenges. However, that other part of the interview, you can find that on our socials as well as our website, ntvkenya.co.ke. Now to sports news now. Ulinzi outplayed Equity 23-22 in the Men's National Handball League to set up a championship deciding match against NCPB next weekend. Following Ulinzi's narrow victory over the Bankers on Sunday morning, NCPB made easy work of JKUAT with a 41-26 triumph to tie for first place with Ulinzi on 45 points on the volatile leaderboard ahead of the decide next Saturday. Meanwhile, in the Women's League, Ulinzi will rue missed points after a 28-28 draw against NCPB ahead of the deciding match with the league leaders Nairobi Water. The defending champions hold a point advantage over second place Ulinzi. And Douglas Duncanson emerged as the winner of the 7th leg of the 2024 NCBA Golf Series, as Sarah Nyareru topped the ladies category. Duncanson, who collected 41 points at the Karen Country Club, was closely followed by Robert Keter with 39 points. Nyareru took the ladies title with 40 points ahead of Hazel Kuria in second place with 36 points. Meanwhile, in the junior category, Wanjiku Madhu claimed top position with 36 points, while the staff category saw Daniel Chege emerge victorious after a countback, finishing with 37 points. The winners earned their slots to play at the series grand finale. And well, this is where we wrap up NTV Weekend Edition. Thank you so much for your valid company. On the sign language interpretation bit was Flora Tieno. My name is Zainab Ismail from the entire team. Good evening.